So The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 12 is out now, called All or Nothing. I'm happy to report this is now my favourite episode of the season, but if you don't want to get anything spoiled for you about this episode, do not listen to this review, because this review is going to contain full spoilers for the episode. You've been warned. So this episode follows two storylines, one massive storyline that takes up 85% of the episode, and then one smaller storyline that is just kind of finishing up a character storyline that started last week. It just kind of puts a bow on it and wraps the whole thing up from last week. So we're going to talk about that one first, of course. That is Eugene's storyline. Last week we found out that Stephanie wasn't actually Stephanie, she was a spy for the Commonwealth, so Lance Hornsby could get all the information about Alexandria, Hilltop, all these communities. They thought this would be the easiest way of getting Eugene to tell him all the stuff is if Stephanie. So, by the end of last week's episode, Max, who was the original Stephanie, who was actually talking to Eugene on the radio, whose name isn't even Stephanie, it's actually Max, who is the sister of Mercer. She reveals to Eugene that she was the one that was actually talking to him, goes back and forth. Eugene loses his shit. Then you see Eugene throughout the episode sparingly, where he's just heartbroken, devastated. You see Eugene and Rosita sitting by a lake, just talking about the past. And I really like seeing those two together, just because they've been together since the start of the apocalypse, and they are like family now together. They know each other so well, and they've been through so much. They were both very, very close to Abraham, who ended up dying. Just throughout the entire series, they've always been together, so it's great to see them still together. I imagine Eugene will survive the series. Rosita, I don't know if Rosita is going to survive yet. I really am 50-50 with it. I cannot tell you for the life of me if she's going to survive or die. But then by the end of it, Eugene then goes to Max. He talks to Max. He tells Max that he apologizes for not being able to realize all this, and you can tell that they're starting a relationship. Eugene tells Max about his book, and so on. They go on, and their relationship is starting, which I assume that's the end game for Eugene, is he's going to end up on Max. The entire series, Eugene has always wanted to have someone. He's always been lonely. He's always wanted to have someone there just to be his girlfriend, just to spend time with him, and now Max looks like this is going to end. Especially reading comic books, you know where it goes with Max and Eugene, Stephanie and Eugene in the comic books, but here it's Max and Eugene. You know where it's going to go, but excited to see if they do kind of remix it slightly, because this whole Max storyline did not exist in the comic books. Everything Rosita at this point is all completely for the TV series. At this point in the comic book series, Rosita was long gone. She died. If you compare it to the TV series, she would have died at the end of season 9. She never gave birth. Everything with Rosita is completely for the TV series. But something that isn't just for the TV series is the whole Pamela Milton storyline, where she goes around to community that is taken straight from the comic book series, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I think it's great that Aaron is actually now in charge of Alexandria, because he has been there since, as far as I know, he's been there since the very start of the apocalypse. But not only that, he's our longest running survivor who's part of the Commonwealth, or who's from Alexandria. Also, I love the fact that he looks like Comic Rick. Like, it's like seeing him and Pamela Milton walk around just looks like Rick in the comic book series walking around Pamela Milton, and it is just absolutely brilliant, because he just looks identical to Rick. The missing arm, the beard, the shaved head. If he had limp, he'd look even more like Rick, and it's just great. But as Pamela and Lance were heading to the Commonwealth, or to Alexandria and the communities, she was saying how she's a bit reluctant to do it, and if it has to be all three of them. If one of them says no, they don't want to be part of it, that is it. Alexandria is cut off. But this is our first time getting to see Alexandria since episode 9, and it's looking great. The walls are being repaired, the buildings are being repaired, everyone's building stuff again. They got Commonwealth soldiers. It is looking fantastic. It really is looking really good. But you do see Daryl in the house with Pamela Milton, Lance Hornsby, Aaron, and Pamela is looking at a photo of Deanna. It's really cool. There's a photo of Deanna and Reg, and she remembers Deanna. She met Deanna a couple of times before the apocalypse, and it's just something cool, because I never thought of that. Of course, she was a politician. Deanna was a politician beforehand. Of course, it makes sense that they knew each other, but it just never clicked in my brain that they would have known each other, and I really like that small detail that it's just something, of course, they might have, even if they never met, they would have known of each other. And I just love that small detail. And even how Daryl says that he respects Deanna because, of course, she created this place where they are constantly fighting for it. Even Daryl tells Pamela that Alexandria has fallen a few times, but they've always just rebuilt it back up again. And I can tell by that she's thinking, why does it keep falling down? But also, wow, you guys keep rebuilding this place. That just shows commitment and just shows that they are here for the long run. They're not going to keep moving around, which was initially what Rick and the group were doing. Every time they lost somewhere, they just move on. But I love that they stayed there. I love that we've been at Alexandria for so long. I love Alexandria as a community. We also go to Oceanside, which, as far as I know, this was our first time going back to Oceanside since I think it was the premiere of season 10. Last time I remember seeing it is when they're training on the beach. But I thought we'd see Luke here. Of course we didn't. He's been off filming Fantastic Beasts 3. But I was convinced Luke moved to the Oceanside. We didn't see him. He probably is there, but we didn't see him. And it was cool. Pamela Milton's on the beach. She's letting the water hit her feet. She even says to, I think the character's name was Cindy, she says, it's amazing that you have this on your doorstep. But then I'm going to say Cindy again, says the only way Oceanside's going to join with the Commonwealth is if Hilltop does it, because Hilltop and Oceanside have signed an agreement. So the only way Oceanside's going to join with the Commonwealth is if Maggie joins with the Commonwealth. So that's really making you go really tense going to the Hilltop, wondering, is Maggie going to do it? Because ever since Maggie got back, you really don't know where Maggie's head is at. Honestly, that's why Negan left, because he didn't know where Maggie's head's at, and it's very hard to predict what Maggie's going to do. There's also one small storyline I completely forgot about. Ezekiel has got his treatment for cancer. Well, we haven't seen the aftermath, but we saw him going in to get his treatment. He's not happy about it, though. He's not happy that he got to skip the line. Carol tells him everything about how she was able to get him ahead of the line. She's saying how Pamela Milton wouldn't hesitate to do it for her son. Why can't you get it? You're a great man. All this. Of course, everyone, including myself, wants to see Ezekiel survive because he's a fan favourite. I love Ezekiel. I can't see him and Carol getting back together, but I would like to see them get back together because I think they do work really well together. But I don't think Ezekiel's going to survive the series. My two big death predictions for the end of the series are Ezekiel and Aaron, but I really would love to see them both survive, but I cannot see them both surviving. Well, Aaron I can see more. I think Ezekiel's like a 90% and I'm Aaron about 65-70, but I do think Ezekiel will die by the end of the series. But anyways, as our group is making their way to the hilltop, they come across a little bit of a walker herd destroying these small group of people. Maggie's there. Maggie almost gets bit. In the case where there's a walker on top of her, she is able to get the walker off herself, but then she sees Aaron, she sees Daryl, big hugs all around, and you can tell that Maggie is not happy the Commonwealth is there. Daryl's there outside of uniform, of course, but he's still there as a soldier. They just have him outside of uniform just to make it look easier for Maggie to want to join. Maggie, Pamela, a whole group, they all go off hunting. Pamela and Maggie go off individually by themselves hunting. They have a good back and forth conversation. Maggie talks about how she became a great leader, who taught her everything she knows. She talks about Georgie, she talks about Deanna, but why the fuck did she not mention Rick Grimes? Like, we don't know what Georgie showed her. I don't know how long I don't know, like, if Maggie left 2 years after Rick died, or if she left the week Rick died. I don't know when she left with Georgie, but Rick was with her since like the month into the apocalypse. He taught her for 2 years. He was not taught her, but he kept her alive. He was with her. Deanna was there for what, a month she was with Maggie. So like, I thought that was so odd how she talks about all these people who taught her how to be a leader but didn't mention Rick once. I thought that was really, really weird, unless it was some weird bullshit thing. I don't really know. But we get to the hilltop. The hilltop, they are rebuilding it. It's not in shambles like it was in the bonus episodes. It's still destroyed, but they are working towards building it. You got some recognizable faces. You got that guy, I think his name is Eli. You've got the girl with the who was originally from Kingdom with the bow and arrow, who I cannot remember her name for the life of me. And then you got also cannot remember her name, Alpha's daughter. Can't remember her name either. She's just been really pushed to the back. I really enjoyed her character during the Whisperer arc, but it seems like now they just don't know what to do with her, so she's been pushed to the back. But as far as I know from memory, they done the exact same thing with her comics. Once the Whisperer arc was done, they didn't know what to do with Lydia, is her name. They didn't know what to do with her, so they kind of pushed her to the background. They're kind of doing the same here. It seems like she's kind of getting some sort of a relationship with Maggie. It's a bit odd that she's at the hilltop in general. I don't know why, because she's got no attachments with anyone there. I was kind of surprised. Originally, I was surprised she didn't go with Daryl. Of course, she didn't go with Negan because Negan left beforehand. But I do think it's weird why she didn't stay in Alexandria. Actually, now I'm thinking of it, she was with Henry in the Hilltop, so maybe that's why she wants to be in Hilltop. But also, there's just so many characters she has attachments to, like Carol, Daryl. Why didn't she go any of them? Why did she stay with Maggie? It's a bit odd. But then you could see the Commonwealth soldiers, they take down a big herd while Maggie and the group are struggling to take them down. You can see everyone's coming around to the idea of Commonwealth. Even the woman who I'm forgetting her name says to Maggie, she goes, it's going to be great. We're going to fly through building. When we've got these soldiers here who can just take down the walker so easily, we're going to fly through building. And Maggie's coming around to her. She has a conversation with Lance. Lance is talking to her like, oh, wouldn't it be great where you could drop your son off to high school or college or whatever. She has gone through all this great stuff that if they join the Commonwealth, if they're able to have these big massive infrastructures, communities, how great the Commonwealth can be and how great the world can be around them. She goes, you've only got a couple hundred people. Imagine if you had 50,000 people to help you do what you think would be best. All this, and then Maggie then decides she doesn't want anything to do with the Commonwealth. She turns down Pamela Milton, where I genuinely thought she was going to welcome them with open arms, welcome them in. I thought that was going to happen because now Alexandria will be cut off if Maggie says no. She says no, which I was surprised by. I should have known because of episode 9, the ending where Daryl comes up in his armor. But I kind of thought she joins, but then she does something that the Commonwealth doesn't like. But she turns them down, which means Oceanside turns them down, which means Alexandria will be cut off. But Lance Hornsby then talks to Pamela Milton about how just stick with it. We'll make these worth it. Do not cut Oceanside or Alexandria off. So Pamela says, we'll do that. She knows that he wants to do it because he wants to be a leader of these communities. He doesn't want to do whatever he does. But she says, if your job at home gets affected by it, there's something massively going to happen here. Because she goes, Commonwealth comes first. As Maggie turns them down, everyone's looking around. All the Commonwealth soldiers and all their supplies are leaving. A group of people come up to Maggie and says, yeah, we're going with the Commonwealth. So you can see a lot of people are leaving Hilltop, understandably. So you can tell they've been fighting for 10 years, constantly fighting. They've had breaks in between where they've had peaceful times. But if they go to Commonwealth, they can go back to like whatever they were doing before. Whether it was working in a bookshop or being a chef or whatever, they can go back to the lives they had before. So why wouldn't they want to go back? So really excited now to see where that credit scene at the end of episode 9 comes in, where Daryl comes up in his uniform, where that's going to take place. The trailer for episode 13 has some weird group being connected to it. I imagine this is going to be the connection of Negan coming back into the storyline because we haven't seen him since episode 9. But I am really excited for episode 13. It looks fantastic by the trailer. This is my favourite episode of the season so far. I just loved seeing Pamela Milton going around catching all these communities because we haven't seen Hilltop pretty much as last season. We got that one episode here, but it was destroyed. So it's great seeing people at the Hilltop, seeing Alexandria again, seeing Oceanside again for one. I wonder if we'll ever go back to the Kingdom and start to rebuild that. But honestly, really excited to see what's going to happen next with The Walking Dead, as I always am. And if you want to hear my thoughts on episode 13, make sure you click the subscribe button so you can come back and hear my thoughts on episode 13. And as always, thanks for watching.